UJAM. So German.
Uh,
Let's see. Once I see that it's live, we should be live.
there's people already typing in the chat.
Oh yeah. Nice. There we go. We are live. All right, let's do some waiting room action, I think. But yeah, this looks good. Well, all good. Let me check feedback from Simon, if you can give me feedback. Or anybody in the chat, are we good? Can you see us, hear us? I'm gonna play some sounds, I guess. Hold up. I think we're good. Sweet. It looks good, I think. All right, let's just get started. So first of all, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're excited for this new plugin, and not only a new plugin, but also a new series. And usually I do these streams with Adam, but today I got the pleasure to have Sarah and Peter with me. And yeah, I don't know. I think if you check out our YouTube channel, which, well, obviously you have seen probably both faces before, but I think, why don't you guys introduce yourself? Sarah, tell us about yourself before I go over to Peter.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name's Sarah. I make pop music. I'm a producer, and I've studied electroacoustics. So my background is kind of more in early electronic music and experimental electronic music. So I kind of started learning the fundamentals and history, and now I've sort of taken that to make contemporary pop music.
Sweet. Peter, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Peter. I'm the founder of UJAM, and I'm usually involved in all of our products in some way, some more, some less. In this product, I was very, very involved from the beginning, part of the team that incepted this thing from the very first idea. I have the very first sketch here that we did quite some time ago, and we're very excited about this new take on a reverb, and looking forward to this chat.
Sweet. All right, Sarah, you had time to play around with it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us? I think, yeah. Tell me your experience of using it, and yeah, how would you describe what makes it different from other UJAM plugins? And then I want to hear Peter's vision, because I rather go backwards and see how somebody perceives it versus.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think what makes it different from other UJAM plugins specifically is just the level of control and sort of customization. And I think that is something that I've experienced a lot. Like, I use a lot of UJAM plugins, especially the finishers, in my own productions. And a lot of the time I'm like, oh man, like I can tell that there's like, 4 or 5 different effects working in tandem on this finisher preset, and I love the way that it sounds, and I wish that I could get in and like form it in a really specific way, especially with my super sort of fundamental background. Of course, like I was trained in the language of the sort of technical music engineer world, and I think that the UFX series and like this reverb is really trying to bridge that gap, and I think it's doing a really great job of it. So I love algo verb sounds. I use them a lot. I really love a sort of like sort of artificial, like sounds like a reverb unit rather than like a space kind of reverb. I think so much of my favorite music. I really, really love a ton of different music from the 80s, and of course that's the algo verb kind of like prime time. So yeah, love the sounds. And then I think what makes it special and unique from other reverbs that I've used is sort of like finisher and filter settings. So I think it's like really within the so a lot of the time what I do is like compress my reverbs or saturate them. I sort of treat my reverbs like almost like they're their own instrument in a way, and I think like this, so I'll put OTT behind my reverbs almost all the time, like which is a really aggressive kind of compression for those who don't know, and to have the sort of like the all of these things built in where you can form the space in a way that is really unique and interesting, I think is something that I'm excited to spend even more time with, messing around with. I think there's like a lot of potential to just explore and discover really unique textures, but that's still sort of work in the context of like many different types of music.
All right. Well, Peter, tell us how the idea was actually born to go a little different than usual, well, UJAM plugins, and yeah, what the main idea behind it was, and the inspiration, and yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, happy to do so. So the idea or the inspiration actually comes from our users, and it came as some of the first feedback when we started the Finisher series. So for those of you who know the Finishers, it was a bit of a rebellious, move by us, because we were so fed up with super sound engineering effect plugins. Like everything looks like a measuring tool, and nothing's musical and creative, or not nothing, but a lot of the stuff really looks like you need to have a diploma to use it. And so the Finishers were like the complete other extreme. They didn't tell you what was going on under the hood. They had just you could pick a mode, and then you had a few varying knobs, but that's all you got. And sometimes intentionally you didn't even know what you were really tweaking. You had to really go by ear. And people love those, and they're super popular. But at the same time, we got a lot of feedback from people who went, yeah, that's great, but what if I want to be at least a little bit in control? Like if I want something that's more traditional, like a reverb or a delay or whatever, but I want I want the UJAM magic on top of that. I don't want it all the way finisher. So that's that's something we've been hearing for 2 years now. And then the inspiration for this particular reverb came from us looking at, well, let me put it the other way around. So everything we build is built with a tool set, that an SDK that we have that is called Gorilla Engine. And that is a modular system that consists of tons of oscillators, filters, effects modules, envelopes, whatever you can imagine. And we build all our instruments with that. That's one of the reasons why we can churn out 12 products per year. And so all these modules get constantly overhauled. And there was this one plugin, or the one module that's called Reverb 2, that Paul Kellett, one of our developers, created, that we all he gave it to us like a first version, and said, well, check that out, and we were blown away. It just sounded so good right out of the box, and it's got tons of modes, 10 of which you find in UFX Reverb now. It's got everything, like it's got emulations of traditional algorithmic reverbs, like the Lexicon 480 that that everybody knows, or Quantec Raumsimulator, all that kind of stuff. But it's also got weird stuff like dirty springs and all that kind of stuff. We just basically, the first thing was, we have to do something with that. We have to put this in a product. We have to make it visible. And then basically from there to the product we've just launched today, it was really just about, okay, but we don't want to do another reverb. Every one of us has 50 reverb plugins, in their DAW. What would be the UJAM take on that? And Then we all thought about, well, what would we want, and what we're missing really is, yeah, you want a great reverb engine, you want the room parameters to be tweakable, but then you usually want to do something maybe surprising, but definitely something unusual to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the idea was born. Yeah, well, let's just slap a filter module, which is essentially also a finisher, but just reduced to filter modes on it, so you can bit crush the reverb tail, or you can you can bandpass the reverb tail, or you saturate it, or whatever. And then let's put another finisher behind that, just because we can, and let's just take the modes the finisher modes we like best from all our recent virtual instruments. So there's finisher modes in there from Virtual Guitarist, or from other symphonic elements, the ones that we thought are most sound designy, and yeah, you can see them there, and they go from basic, which is just a bunch of delays, for example, or gates or chorus, to completely crazy stuff, and we also slapped in the surprise feature from USynth, which works incredibly well here, because what I do now, like I've tried it over the last few weeks. You start a piano track and you just put UFX Reverb in there, and then you just you just keep hitting the surprise button and just see what comes up. And this is a way of discovering a room that you didn't have in mind,
Right.
but that might be exactly what you were looking for in a weird way. That's happened to me a ton of times, like all these serendipitous moments. And and our feeling is the plugin is better than the sum of all those parts that I just described. You really have to try it. I was surprised about what it really lets me do, and I haven't even mentioned the freeze feature, which is a whole story in itself. But
Right.
yeah,
Sweet. Yeah, so I started this product kind of appeared like very sudden to me, and they were like, hey, we got a reverb. I was like, okay, cool. But I like what you said, because somebody in the chat already asked like what makes this one different than all the other reverbs out there, which is a legit, or it's a good question, but it is what you said, like I think with all the extra features, because so no, it's not extracted from a finisher, it has a finisher in there. It's its own plugin, it's its own thing, and especially because you have way more control than in our usual UJAM plugins. And yeah, we'll go, let's just go jump right into it and listen to it. So as with everything, we got different categories of presets here, which gives you always a very good first look of what the plugin sounds like. I have our virtual pianist vibe on here because, and well, of course I turned off all the effects on there, so we can actually just, I'm gonna just mess around with it a little bit here. Let's see. Let me know if you can hear something, but I'm sure you can, because and all the presets are, well, they're just a snapshot of everything you can set up, and that includes the finisher and everything. So obviously, but let's just go through the different sections, and I'm gonna just have you, Peter, explain what it does. So the first thing, or the first,
I hope I know.
I'm sure you know more than me. So first you select the mode, which is what kind of reverb it is, correct?
The mode is basically the reverb engine that you
Right.
choose. So there's 10 of them in there right now. We can expand them at some point, but yeah. So that's the basic reverb engine that you pick. So like Gate is a special algorithm, or Cathedral would be one, or Reverse or so.
So you do that. Hold on, let me just skip through them a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't use the bit crush one. Hold up, because that makes it all sound.
Yeah, you want to switch up that finisher now, I guess.
And man, They sound amazing, actually. Then we got the dimension settings. Tell us a little bit about that. Time is how long the tail is, right?
So yeah, I mean these ones, the dimension ones are basically that are aspects of any room in reality.
Right.
You know, how big is the room? What's the reverb time? What's your distance from the walls, which defines the pre-delay. So they are pretty like real parameters. They're not thought out or designed or customized or anything.
Right. So we got these. But then the character section is a little different because it allows you to actually tweak the sound a little in different ways, right?
Yeah. So I mean, there are also two of them are also realistic ones. So
Right.
damping, for example, represents the softness of the walls. And then diffusion, or is it called diffusion or density? It's
Diffusion.
small, but
Yep.
we end up with diffusion, right? And that basically gives you the opportunity to adjust between basement, small echoes, or a really dense cloud of very soft repetitions.
Yeah.
And then modulation is that thing that people love about those algorithmic reverbs that make it really sound super rich and sometimes too rich, for example, for drums or stuff, but incredible for synth sounds or vocals or pianos or stuff like that.
Right. So, hold up. And then tell me about the ducking.
Yeah. The ducking, I don't remember. It was the idea of on our team. I don't remember who, but to me it was quite unusual. I know, of course, we all know how to sidechain reverb for certain effects.
Right.
But this ducking is actually a little bit. It's special because it's totally optimized. Like it changes its character depending on which engine you've selected, and on the reverb parameters as well.
Right.
And what it basically does is it makes your signal. Just imagine you're playing a solo or you have someone sing or speak. It makes that stand out a lot more against the reverb tail because whenever there's input signal level, the reverb tail gets suppressed.
Right.
That's what it does. And you can use it for realistic stuff, but you can also use it for completely weird effects where you turn the ducking all the way up and then you turn time and size up and play a guitar note, and then as the guitar note decays, a huge cloud comes in. So you can do stuff like that as well.
Okay.
I love that ducking is included in this. I think that's so smart because, like as you say, sidechaining. Like we would think to sidechain a reverb, but to have it built in and just be like, what happens if I just touch this knob and then like I mean ducking a reverb is actually like super super useful, both like creatively and technically. I feel like I'm very pro including ducking in time-based effects.
For sure.
Yeah, but, it totally makes a difference if the ducking parameters are optimized for the particular, or follow the reverb or follow your other parameter settings, as opposed to sidechaining where you're not so much in control.
Actually, let me.
Yeah, it takes so much more time to optimize it if you have to change your parameters or change the input signal or something like that. And
yeah.
I'm a fan.
Actually, we also gonna.
I wasn't clear.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I was just gonna mention that we also gonna select a winner who can win a license of our new plugin. So make sure to participate in the chat. And I think the way we did that was just like you say you write out your name or something like that. And I think Simon will pick something like that. Maybe I'll think of something more clever than that. But hold on, let me actually play a vocal and play with the ducking so we can actually hear it in action. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, good idea.
So call me, 'cause I'm in service. I don't pick up, 'cause I'm in.
So I think, hold on, let me do it without the ducking in total.
So call me, 'cause I'm in service. service.
And now with ducking all the way up.
So call me up, 'cause I'm in service.
So I think that makes it pretty clear. I love the freeze function. Tell me what the idea behind the freeze function was, because that's pretty damn cool.
To be super honest, the original idea was quite nerdy because some of us are sound designers and we build samples all the times, and so we were super keen on, because you hear the reverb tails that this thing creates from piano notes or from synths, and you just think, wow, what if I could sample that and use it as a pad? So that was the original idea. But of course, you can do all kinds of other stuff with that. Basically what it just does is, at the very moment you click that button, it freezes whatever is the current reverb signal.
Right.
And it stays there forever. And you can make it go away if you turn up damping, but you can also just have it stay there forever. And what's super fun, and I hope I'm not spoiling too much here, is having that reverb tail stand there and then going to the finisher and then playing with them, performing on them or automating them. You can create whole ambient tracks just that way.
Sarah, how would you use the freeze function? What would you do with it?
I mean, those are some pretty good ideas there. I mean, I feel like that is probably what I would do with it. Yeah, let me think.
Drone
yeah,
heaven.
I mean, to be honest, I don't usually make like ambient music, so I don't really use the freeze personally, just for the type of stuff that I do.
Right.
But I think, yeah, totally, for like any kind of sound design or like sampling, just creating textures. I mean, I feel like creating textures would be like a great thing as like a way that I could use it, because even though I do make like pop music and it's all sort of like melody based, I do have a lot of like quiet background textures in my beats just to make it feel like it exists
Right.
in a space. And so I'll have sampled noise or, tape hiss or whatever, so quiet that you can't actually, it's just sort of like you only notice it if you take it out, kind of. But I feel like, yeah, freezing something would probably be a really interesting way of creating some cool noisy textures.
For sure. Let's
Yeah,
actually.
you can do stuff. For example, what you can do is like you can have the whatever center node of your track be played by something, freeze the reverb tail, and then in the finisher there's gators, so you can use those gators and actually turn it into a rhythm track. That stuff's also possible. It doesn't
Super
have
smart.
to, it can be something rhythmical.
Totally, yeah. Oh, like the gating, yeah, it's a mean combo. That sounds really fun. I'm gonna try that.
I'm gonna try it right now. Hold up. Hold up. That's pretty damn cool. Okay, let's see. Well, obviously we have a filter section where you can, on top of having your... So, the filter, Peter, does that occur, well, after the reverb, right? Or how is the chain?
The filter and the finisher only work on the reverb tail.
Okay.
They don't affect the input signal at all.
Okay.
And they're serial. So there's first the filter and then there's the finisher.
Okay. So yeah, you can turn them on and off. So you can... Hold up, do I have that? No, I thought I still had the freeze on. Never mind.
And I think someone in the chat just asked if we put some EQs on there, and yeah, you find all of these in the filter. It's comparable to the character knobs. For those of you know our symphonic element series, that's the stuff in the character section of the symphonic elements instruments.
Let's see. So I think that already is a good example of like why this goes kind of beyond just being a reverb. And then of course we got the finisher section, which, yeah, as you already said, so these are modes from previous instruments and effects, right?
Yeah.
like the best of, essentially. Hold on, let me turn up
Yes.
the filter and
Yeah.
then. Yeah. And then, well, I think the last thing actually we have to talk about is the surprise button, which some of you who already used our USynth, which evidently the UI is kind of, I think the closest thing to the UI design we have are the USynth, and so you already know the surprise function. You essentially you click on it and it will randomize the parameters, and with the big and small knob you can decide how much it will randomize something. Hold up, but somehow I think we got technical difficulties. It's not. Oh, it is. Okay, never mind. I thought it's not going to do it, but we're all good. Which, by the way, is my favorite feature in the USynth series, because you can just like pick a sound that you like, but then just randomize it and be like, okay, this is like a variation or like just something completely different. Yeah, I mean, what else? What else? Do we have more questions in the chat? Because I think we covered basically every aspect of the reverb already.
Yeah, I could add something on the surprise feature,
Please.
Daniel, if I may.
Please.
So basically, what the bigger, smaller knob does is if you turn it not all the way down, but just a little bit up, it will just do subtle variations of your reverb. But what I just leave it fully turned up, because then it touches every parameter, and so on every click of a button, it will change the mode, it will change the filter, it will change the finisher, switch on and off the filter. So every time it will create a completely different preset. And something that's unexpected. This thing doesn't know what it does there. It doesn't look for anything particular. So, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm constantly in situations where I go, yeah, this could use a cool room. I'm not looking for something, like a real thing. It could use some kind of cool ambience there. And then I try to play with stuff, and I don't have to anymore, because it's just this click of a button until I'm happy. And you can go back and forth with the two little arrows left and right from the surprise button.
Right. Somebody's asking if we can lock certain parameters. I don't think we can here, right? I think even if you turn the finisher on, even if I hit the button, yeah, it will turn it on if it feels like it. So it's not like the USynth where you can actually lock them, I think.
No, I mean, it doesn't touch the finishers if the small, big knob is under a certain value.
Oh, okay.
So, that way you can protect some. We don't have the lock features that we had in USynth. We don't have them here. We tried them, but then it limits, because this thing doesn't have so many parameters.
Right.
It kind of limits the surprise feature a little bit. What we didn't mention, we actually have a lock feature in there, and that's right next to the mix control. And the whole purpose of that it's a preset lock. So just imagine you've put UFX Reverb into a send bus, so you want the mix level all the way to the right, fully wet.
Right.
And then you're going through presets. It's super annoying if every time you have to pull it to the right again. So you can lock the mix setting wherever you want it, and it just stays there as you go through presets.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Just to add with the surprise function, with this particular sort of like concept of a reverb where where there's the potential to create really unique types of spaces and textures that you've never really heard before, I really feel like the surprise function is really smart here, because a reverb is something that we're used to using in a certain way, right? Like you're just like, okay, well, it's a reverb, it has this function, and so I'm just going to, I feel like it's really easy to kind of get into to habits using a reverb, and then if you want to take this and really use it to its full potential with creating really unique textures that you've never heard before, I feel like something that I'm feeling inspired to do next time I get to sit down and work with it is just really, really like take the surprise function to its like as far as I possibly can and be like, okay, like what can this think of that I can't, because I have such an ingrained idea of like what a reverb already is. So I think that's kind of it's an inspiring.
That's why it's called surprise. I would totally agree. And you said something it's important. Like, this is an algorithmic reverb. It's not yet our take on a real space emulator. You know, like where you probably use convolution, impulse responses or something, like where you want to emulate real rooms, and that's the thing you want to do. This is an algorithmic reverb, and it's something where that's made to design spaces that are not necessarily, they can sound kind of real, but that's not really what you use this thing for. It's more like, you know, for sound design, for gluing tracks together, or for adding something to a voice or an instrument, you know, and for that the surprise feature is great.
Somebody's asking if there's a sync feature to the BPM of this song. Well, I mean, since it's a reverb, if it was a delay, it would make more sense, I think. We wouldn't...
The finishers are BPM synced when they are rhythmic, like the gates and the delays, of course, they're BPM synced. But we didn't put a sync feature into the reverb section because it's also washy. It doesn't really make a difference.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, and by the way, we could have added it, but people who know UJAM plugins also know that every single knob that's on the UI has survived a process of can we live without it,
right?
And, you know, so no, that didn't survive.
Yeah, I'm excited for this series actually, and of course, as with everything, you can download the 30-day trial on UJAM.com and fully test it, whatever. Let's see. Did we forget something? I think we got everything here, huh? Let me play with it for a little bit, just to, you know, just jam with it for a second here. I got this sound. It's just like some sample. Something I would definitely use for a hip-hop song, but I'm gonna just mess with it to get you guys some... Oh, CPU usage, it's very low. Hold up, let me...
Yeah.
Shit.
That.
Where's the CPU thing on Cubase now? Oh my god, like every version, I just don't know where things went. The CPU usage is very low. We always pay special attention to that. Hold up, let me...
Yeah, algorithmic reverb isn't that CPU heavy. Like when at some point we're probably going to do a convolution based one, and that CPU is that's the consideration there. It's something you found.
For the giveaway, I think just honestly just type your name or do a funny emoji or something like that, and Simon will pick you. We'll pick a winner. Let me play with this real quick. Already love it. Yeah, I think even if I wasn't involved, I would still... I'm very picky when it comes to plugins. I really am. Finisher Neo is the finisher I use in pretty much every electronic song I put out. Not only electronic, but also hip-hop, but this will definitely be a new tool that I'm for sure gonna use. Somebody was asking earlier, of course you can use it for any kind of sound, for vocals, for whatever. Usually when we do categories and stuff, it's just a suggestion, but use it for whatever you want. Just have fun with it. That's the biggest thing for us to make plugins that are fun. I mean, just to look at it is fun, and you want to kind of mess around with it. If anyone has more questions, let us know. Yeah, Simon is already saying last chance to enter. See, there are the emojis going. There we go. We should do this another 5 minutes or something, because I think we covered everything. Or Peter, is there anything else you think people should know about this?
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe I could think of a few tricks that I learned while, you know, playing with this thing. You guys are dropping I think I lost my audio. I'm not hearing you guys anymore. Hello, ISS to Earth.
No, we hear you.
Oh, okay.
I think we're just not talking.
Okay. Well, I'm not used to people not talking. So no, I mean, a few tricks that I learned along the way, or a few finishes that I would point people to. So when you go to the last section, the last category in the finishers, which is called, Daniel,
Oh,
you have to
sorry.
pull it up for me. Yeah.
Yep. Move.
And remember,
Move.
move, right? And as I think I touched on it briefly earlier. Just put something in this thing. Turn damping down. Turn time and size up all the way. Use one of the modes like, basic, for example, one of the longer that create longer reverb tails. And then when the tail's really, like stable, hit the freeze button, and then first, play with some of the filters, and then play with some of the finishers in that move section, and turn the finisher all the way up. And as I said, what you can totally do is really just play that and then automate or perform on the finisher knobs. It does crazy shit. It does stuff where you would think, wow, somebody's really had his synthesizer stuff down there. But it's the weirdest finishers from the Symphonic Elements series,
Right.
and they were meant for sound design. Like we have this amazing guy Derek von Krog, who's just a total gearhead, and he's got his whole basement full of analog stuff, and he's just crazy, and he created all these things, and you can I just enjoy playing with it. And behind each of those finishers, there's sometimes up to 20 to 30 different effects in various chains. So it is really weird stuff.
Let me do exactly what you just said. I already set it up while you were talking, so hold on.
Okay, so turn size and time all the way up. Pick one of the basic. Yeah, pick the basic mode. That's fine. Damping all the way down. Diffusion up. And then just build a reverb tail and then just hit freeze. And then as you go to the filter and finisher, you can totally see that real-time applied. So you can actually hear what they're doing. So when, for example, if you use the comb filter, you can create this jet stream effect. Or, as I said, if you go with a crazy finishers, you can have pitching and rhythmic shit and, all kinds of stuff.
That's pretty awesome. It's, yeah. I'm so gonna use that on dirty bass sounds. Oh my god, like you can modulate like crazy bass sounds like that. I'm excited.
And then another thing, as I just mentioned, what you can totally do, like if I use Logic and there's this thing called whatever it's called, Simple Sampler or something. There's something in Ableton Live as well that's called Simpler. So there's a lot of DAWs have this thing that you drag a sample and then you can just play it. And the freeze function is totally something that you can use, like hit a piano note or hit whatever you want, freeze it, and then basically just bounce that 3 or 4 seconds of that tail, or 50 if you want,
right,
and just drag it to one of those samplers, and you have a beautiful pad or melody sound or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
All right, thanks, Nino.
Yeah, so I think these sounds already prove that, well, we go beyond a reverb. And somebody was asking if there's a dark mode. I'm sure you mean the user interface. There is not. Like, this was...
Not yet.
Yeah, at least not yet, but yeah. Yeah, what else? I think we covered basically anything. Sarah, do you have anything you want to say, ask, or add?
I mean, I feel like I'm really excited. Oh, one thought that I had would be really cool is the finisher with all the time-based effects. Is that Neo?
I think it's from different ones, right?
Neo is in there. Some things are from Neo. I'm not sure exactly which ones. I think some of the basic ones like chorus and flanger and stuff. But it's basically really just, it's a smorgasbord thrown together, from all kinds of virtual instruments. No, you know what? Neo is not in there because we didn't pull from finishers. We pulled from instruments.
Okay.
Right. So I was thinking, is the Neo by itself, that one has a lot of time-based effects in it though, right? Like it has a lot of like gators and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was thinking those two, for anyone that has Neo or wants to try it, I feel like the Freeze plus Neo would be a really, really fun combination in terms of as you were saying, sort of like playing the frozen reverb texture with a gator or something like that, especially for like creating percussion. I feel like you could create some really interesting percussion that way. I mean, I feel like there's the other stuff I've already said. Like I'm really excited to go crazy with the surprise function, and I think the ducker is genius, and any time-based effects that don't have ducking in them, I'm dying on that hill. They're not good enough. Darn. But yeah, I feel like those are going to be, and then obviously just a really good sounding reverb. So using it on vocals, and I mean that's I guess another thing, right? Like there's all these creative applications for it, but 90% of the time you're still just looking for like what is the best sounding reverb that I have. I think that this one is absolutely in that conversation. So I think just putting it on vocals, putting it on synths, just using it in a normal way is also something that I look forward to continue to explore and do.
Somebody is asking, hold up, is the MIDI button? I think it is. Yeah, you can automate the surprise button. I think. Let me see. I think you can automate this.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Actually.
Let me see. Because we are looking for answers together. No, you cannot.
I can imagine we didn't make that automatable because it's not replicable. Whatever it creates.
That's true. Yeah, it wouldn't really make. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely the freeze button. I mean, that's a good thing. So you can kind of create.
Yeah.
I know that because I did that earlier, but yeah, I think we covered all the grounds. We're excited for this new series.
I would like to add two things on behalf of first of all, so this is the start of a series. As you can see, the logo above Reverb says UFX. So we have other effects in mind that we will put out with the same UI concept, same engine concept. So you guys can look forward to that. And then on behalf of the team, I would like to add, let us know what you think. This is a new series. We love it, but what's more important is that or people out there love it or don't, or have suggestions or ideas, like a dark mode, for example, is something that we didn't think of. So please let us know wherever you want. I mean, comment under this video, send us emails to support@ujam.com, hit us on the social channels, whatever. We're always super grateful for feedback, and after all, feedback is what inspired the series. So yeah,
and every email will reach us for sure. Like we even comments. I mean, I saw you, Peter. I saw you on Facebook so many times answering people's comments and stuff like that, which I think is not the usual way. So I think it's important to know that everybody at UJAM is very approachable, and we love feedback and ideas. So yeah, what Peter says. I think we're good, right? I think we covered everything. I think we got everything. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. This was amazing to actually, because I probably just would have acted like I know more than I do. So it was good to have the man behind it there. Sarah, so cool to have you here, and I'm glad we can make this happen, and I'm sure this was not the last stream we do together.
Your time. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and you guys, everybody who tuned in, who joined in, thanks for watching. Make sure to check it out. Again, there's no risk. You can download the trial, and hopefully someone out there, someone out there will win this plugin today. So yeah, I think we're good.
All right.
Thanks everybody.
Well,